Hello, we're back with another solo episode. Just me, my beautiful Moya, weathered like a true champ. I think I got that little guy. Don't worry about that little guy. It's all good. Work got a little busy, so I wasn't able to meet up with Chris. So I'm doing a solo episode, and Chris is actually going to do a solo episode about big brain smart stuff. Me, I'm just going to talk about a little bit of jiu-jitsu. So, actually the last half of this is going to be a match study. Gosh, I'm showing a lot of cleave today. Or a gi, just, I don't know, to be on theme. If you've seen in my other podcasts, I try to be on theme. But I'm going to do a little bit of match review of my last black belt match at the Rev in Washington. And I'm just going to talk about what I was trying to do, what I failed to do, what I felt like they were doing, my strategy, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be on the back half of this, and on YouTube I'll put a little timestamp, so if you want to skip to that, you can. For audio listeners, I will probably cut that out. So go check out the YouTube page and you can see that if you're interested. But for now, I got a few questions that actually came in from listeners. So first, and I'm kind of going in this cold. I didn't review any of these. I just kind of looked at them, copy pasted into a file, and then I'm ready to go. So apologies if I ramble. I'm going to try not to make this too long. First, how to get good at guard passing. Okay, well, at least it's not vague. How to get good at guard passing? Well, obviously, do it. As in, don't pull guard, try to play top position. A lot of the time we get really kind of lazy and we just like sit back. Now maybe you have a partner that is being very adamant about being on top, or you got taken down or something like that, so you got to earn your way to the top. That's fine. But in your sparring rounds, be super diligent about passing. And if you really want to get good, in my opinion, let's say you pass the guard, you get the side control, don't even go for a sub. Allow the person, and I don't mean allow in like a lazy sense, make them work for it, but allow them to re-guard and get another rep in your guard passing. You should, if it's especially maybe you have a skill discrepancy where you're better, then you can pass someone's guard, allow them to re-guard, give them a good look, give them some tension, make them earn it, then start your passing sequence again. Either do the exact same thing or change it up a little bit, see what, I would probably try to do the exact same thing, especially if I'm trying to like hone in this one pass. And if I can pass someone with the same thing 4 or 5 times in one round, I'll do it. I know it can be kind of annoying for the other person, and some people might think it's boring, but I think that's a really good way. It effectively turns into live drilling, where you're getting more accurate reactions. Because what's going to happen is typically after the second time, even the first time that you pass them, that second time or third time, they're going to give you different looks. So now you're getting different reactions when you're trying it, and it's maybe going to fail, and you can see why it failed. So you can get a lot of good reps with that. Drilling with a passive partner, I think, is beneficial to a certain point. Once you have the movement down, I don't think it's doing a whole lot for you. Now, that doesn't mean never do it. I think when you're introducing a new technique, it's good to do. Or if something seems foggy, like when you're trying to pass in a live scenario, a certain type of pass, then slowing things down could be beneficial. But for the most part, that passive drilling style, I don't think is super beneficial to do for long periods of time. Now, there's certain things like I'll have people in class do warm-up drills with arm bars, triangles, and omoplatas, let's say. These are very passive. I use these to just kind of get the body moving, and also I try to preach to do good reps, because how you drill passively will absolutely trickle into how you go live. And so if you do crappy reps when you're doing it passively, you're for sure going to have holes and crappy execution when you try to go live. So when you go slow and have a passive uke or partner, that's when you need to be like a freaking Nazi about your technique. You need to be like trying to do everything absolutely perfect. So that's what I do, is tunnel vision in and try to get as many reps during your sparring rounds in passing. If you pass, don't go for the finish. Don't try to get that gold star. Don't even go to mount. If you're trying to work on something, zero in on it. Come back and then go again. What are the passes to start with? Hey, Chihuahua. This is going to kind of be dependent on the person. Because some people will just naturally gravitate for whatever reason towards certain movements, certain gripping structures. Some people like to pass on their knees. Some people like to pass on their feet. Some people like outside passing. Some people like mid-range. Some people like pressure. You're going to have to explore a little bit what feels good. If, let's say, we take the brand new white belts out of it and we get into like that blue belt kind of territory, that purple belt maybe, or even upper white belt, like you've been doing it for a year or something, I would say, I personally, instead of focusing on an exact pass style, oh geez, okay, I'm good. Sorry, a pass, like a certain pass, like a knee cut or something like that. Like you're gonna want to learn knee cuts, because that will stay with you forever. And you'll use knee cuts in different scenarios. And just the movement will lend itself to setting up side smash and a whole bunch of things. Toriandos, X pass, right? Those three alone, you will use them in a chain with each other, but they'll also lend themselves to other moves. Long steps as well. Those are just some core passes to start with. Like if you're like, I need to learn a technique. But I would say learning the concepts of always having grips is big. Not allowing your arms to cross the middle when you're passing. Learning about the ranges, close, mid, outside. Okay. Learning what that means. Knees to chest is like a core concept in guard retention, right? Keeping your knees to your chest. Why? Because you're defending what like Mikey Musumeci calls the pass box. And I use that terminology too. And that pass box is basically your lower bottom rib to your hip. And when you're doing any sort of pass, you're essentially trying to occupy that space before you even get chest to chest. And the only way you can occupy that space is you have to separate their knees from their torso, and then you have to pass the feet, the knees, and then obviously the hips to occupy that space. So understanding that will make it so you don't have to necessarily learn an exact step-by-step technique. You just know, okay, I need to occupy the space from below their bottom rib to their hip. Whether it's with a hand, a shoulder, a head, a knee, your own torso, your hip, something. your goal is to separate their knees from, separate and occupy, right? So with that, if you can understand that, then you're going to be able to be efficient just with movement. And you're not even doing like a step-by-step technique. Now, if you think about like a knee cut, right? You get an underhook, you slide the knee across the hip, you're occupying that space right there. You think about an X pass, right? You have a collar, you have the outside knee, you punch that knee away from their torso, and you stick your knee into the pass box. That's all you're doing. Maybe you go and you're passing and you go to north-south. Bada bing, bada boom. You're going to put your head right where the hips are. Occupy the pass box. So I would say that learning those kind of basic concepts of what the goal is almost more important than an actual specific pass technique. But you do have your core knee cut, X pass, Toriandos. I think those three are pretty beneficial. Side smash, and then you can chain all those together. What are the best styles of passing depending on a guard? That's the question. Example, flexible guard, Hage style, closed guard, collar sleeve, De La Hiva. That's just going to depend on what guard they're playing. Now, in my opinion, if you're going against someone with a flexible guard, what I preach is always going to north-south. Don't even consider stopping at the torso or at the pass box. Well, you're going to occupy the pass box through going to north-south with your hands and your head, typically. That's how you're going to end up blocking a flexible person's guard. The reason I say go to north-south is because if someone can keep their knees to their chest, and they can do like stuff like this where they can like pet their own face, right? And they can like, there's a video out there where Professor Andrew, my coach, is passing me, and he's pressure passing me, and he has my foot right here, and then he starts toe holding me like this, and I'm just flexible. So then as he's toe holding me, I start kind of laughing, and he starts going like this. He starts beating me with my foot. Pretty rude. Also effective. So if someone has that kind of flexibility where it's not just knees to chest, but if they have external hip rotation, right? That means I can literally hug my own foot. So how are you going to occupy the pass? I'm sinking down. How are you going to occupy the pass box when my foot is like this? Can you see that? How like you have to get in between there, okay? So one of the ways you can do that is, and sorry for the audio listeners, that was a little bit of visual representation. Basically, I was putting my toes in my own mouth. So what you're going to be doing is as you start coming around someone, they're on their side, you're smushing them, right? Their foot is in between your chest and the bottom person's chest, right? Like I was just illustrating here. So in order to get past that, you're going to have to smush and then continue to north-south. Either you can wedge yourself in between. Typically that can be very difficult. Or you're going to have to continue to the other side while maintaining that pressure. Now, what you're doing is you're forcing the person, you're trying to force them, their shoulder blades, and flat on the mat, while you're compressing their body here, right? So imagine you're coming around this. So if I'm on the bottom, you're passing to your right side. My right leg is in between us. So you're going and you have the foot in between us, right? Well, what's happening is I'm rocking to my left hip to prevent you passing to your right, my left. In this moment, if you can flatten my shoulder blades out, I can illustrate this. Right now I'm square. I'm on my left side. If you flatten my shoulder blades out, there becomes a space here that you can now come around my head and not allow, by blocking my hip, you will not allow me to start turning back into you. And then you can now occupy this pass box on my right side. So effectively, you're coming to one side, pinning my hips, my legs, and my shoulders in a fashion that you can then walk around my head, effectively going around my legs, and then making your attack angle from the top of me, my head, rather than your attack angle normally is with the feet in front of you, right? Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense? I don't know. Might not make sense. Might have to do a different video about that or something, how to pass flexible guards. Because what I like to teach is how to pass my guard. I don't have like the best guard in the world, obviously, but I'm fairly flexible, or dexterous. I don't know. Trembolone. I'm not sure, but because of that kind of natural flexibility, you kind of have to earn to pass my guard. You have to be a little bit strategic, typically, just because of my flexibility. It's kind of like that person when they're like, "Oh, you're just so strong." Maybe they're not like super good at jiu-jitsu. They're just super freaking strong. I'm not throwing Casey under the bus. Don't worry. He did break my ankle the other day, yesterday, but that's neither here or there. But I'm like that. I'm the equivalent with flexibility. I might not be super sick at jiu-jitsu, but I got good flexibility that makes up and makes me seem better than I am, probably. So that's a flexible guard. Like, I can't even talk about closed guard because I don't know what it is. Collar sleeve, De La Hiva. I mean, that's one of those things where grip breaks are going to be paramount. There's a great study on flow grappling if you pay for it. Keenan Cornelius goes over Hummel Obahal passing. And Hummel Obahal breaks a collar grip when a guy's trying to go collar sleeve or De La Hiva. He breaks it probably 14 times in a row. And what I mean by that is like grip break, the guy regrips, grip break, guy regrips, grip break. He doesn't progress until he breaks the grip first. If the guy regrips with let's say a collar grip, he breaks that grip. So you have to have grip dominance if you're going against a good De La Hiva player or collar sleeve player. You have to have grip dominance. Otherwise, they're gonna set you into a trap. Yeah. Another question is, okay, this is worded aggressively, and I do not condone anything said here. Is it gay to always turtle to avoid guard passing? You are a monster, sir, whoever sent this in. No, it's not gay, actually. It might visually look a little Homo sapien, but it's not at all. It's actually quite strategic. Because if you turtle when someone's trying to guard pass you, that means you got caught slipping and you are trying to just avoid the points. And really, the turtle is one of the most neglected positions out there, in my opinion. There is a lot of submissions you can actually catch from turtle. And any of my white belts that roll with me and some chubby blue belts know that the turtle is a fairly dangerous position when you go with old Slick Willie here, the old power bottom. So, which is me. That is me. I did not give myself the nickname. So, turtle, if you practice turtle, it can actually be extremely good to where you're not afraid. If you have a good turtle, it's like having good defense. If you have good defense, your offense is going to be more effective because you're not scared to throw up submissions or sweep attempts from the bottom, let's say, or you're not afraid to, in the top position, to really like go after a pass because you know your defense is good. You trust your defense. If you screw up and you get put in a bad position, you're like, I don't care if you mount me. I'm getting out of this piece. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. If you're not scared of turtle, when you turtle, you're like, okay, go ahead and do a front head wrap. You gonna get wrist lock, son. If you keep looking at my bosom, I apologize. It is what it is. My gi keeps coming open. When you forget to tap, is it a sign of dementia? Well, that depends if you're an old doctor. In that case, yes. In most cases, no. It just means you got a big fat ego and there's a big ginger ripping on your ankle and you just didn't want anybody to see you tap. Or Tainan's moves do Tainan's moves only work because of Bomba? Change my mind. No, I know that was Mikey Musumeci that said that, and I don't know why he's throwing so much shade at old Tainan. Is Tainan on the bomb? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? I kind of lean no, honestly. Just if you had a gun to my head. But, wouldn't be surprised. No, I think you can see a technical proficiency with him that is... that we don't see very often. I'm not going to say generational because his coaches, we saw the same thing. Lucas Lepre, we saw the same thing. JT Torres and Nogi, we see the same thing. There's a level of proficiency with certain techniques that they are just so good at. Hage, obviously, Gordon, So, but is he on that Acai? I don't know. Is hockey more manly than jiu-jitsu? You commie son of a bitch. Oof. Okay. I'm going to skip that one. We don't answer communist questions. I was stuck in bottom half guard, and I've been working on butterfly guard. What are some good setups for that? So you're getting stuck in bottom half, and you're trying to get into butterfly. Well, me personally, now, obviously, half guard, you got to get your underhook. You got to get same side underhook. So if I'm on my right side and let's say, okay, if you're going to commit to playing half guard, you have to understand you are committing to a guard that you're going to get smashed. What I mean by that is like, you're going to get smushed. It's a miserable guard to play. Super effective. Not an athletic guard, great for people that don't have a ton of mobility or something like that. But you are committing to something that lends itself to getting smushed. It's kind of like rubber guard. Like you're going to get stacked if you play rubber guard. It is what it is. That's people's natural reaction, whether they know how to get out of rubber guard or not. They're going to stack you. Half guard, same thing. You're putting yourself in a spot where you're gonna get shoulder pressured. Someone's gonna get chest to chest on you. They're gonna flatten you out. They're gonna twist you up. So you have to get your underhook on the same side that you have the leg trapped. Okay. Now sometimes that can be tough. If they have the underhook here and you're just getting smushed, one of my go-tos, I think 10th Planet calls it jailbreak, is trying to pummel this in under your top arm that would normally be an underhook, pummel that into the face, reinforce it here, and then really just you're being quite mean about it. And then you can elbow first, slide that in. It doesn't always go to a full underhook. Sometimes you have to do it again where now you're pressing on their ribs and then you can swim an underhook. If you actually want to get really good at that, then you'll add like a lockdown sequence to that. So you can do a whip up at the same time. Getting used to having a good overhook game from half guard can be pretty beneficial as well. So you can throw in like cheeky little mirror locks and stuff like that just to like get them to react. But getting into a butterfly, I personally really like to play half butterfly, which is where if I'm on my right side, my right leg is in a half guard kind of position. My left leg, I do a hip escape and then I pummel my left leg, if I'm on my right side, into a butterfly. And typically the knee is to the outside of the rib. And that butterfly kind of stays around the mid thigh to hip area. That's, I would say, probably my go-to half guard if I can get into that. Now, if you have a lack of flexibility, you're going to have to really do a big hip escape to get that foot in there. But once it's in, it feels quite solid. And at that point, I like to work a cross collar grip from that position. You have good little knockover sweeps, set up a cross collar choke that you can slap on really quick off and off balance. Yeah. Elevating is big. If you can get good at a lockdown and get good at what's called whipping up, you can start to get their hips in the air so you can start to pummel into butterflies, single leg X guards, all that kind of stuff. But whip ups are really effective. If you can throw a lockdown in, and then you're going to bring your knees to your chest, and your feet are going to kind of come up at the same time, and you bring your knees to your chest, and either you do C-clamps in their armpits or their ribs, and you're going to almost like bench press them a little bit, but you're not going to just go straight up. You're going to come off to an angle. And so if you imagine you have a lockdown, your knees start coming to your chest, and you start diverting them off to about a 45-degree angle, that typically opens up your underhooks, your old school sweeps, your electric chairs, and or if you just want to, if they start sitting back, then you can just do a shrimp and then get into your butterfly half, and maybe even get into a full half guard, or excuse me, butterfly guard. And then when you're in the butterfly guard, if you've just done a whip up, you should have an underhook, and now you're really tight. You have a tight body lock. Your ear is sucked up to their chest. You're just ripping on the ribs, and you got butterflies. Now you can do a big boy sweep. You can trap that arm, go for a normal kind of butterfly kind of deal. You got quite a bit you can do from there. So those are some things that I would probably work on with that. If anything, I would try to pull into those spots. Force yourself. Don't give yourself another option to get out. Force yourself to get butterflies. Force yourself in half guard. Pull half guard. Put yourself in the spot. In the worst of the worst. Let them get shoulder pressure, chest to chest in the worst half guard you can. That's probably what I would do. Another thing that came down the pipe was there was an interesting podcast, and I'll link it in the description, with Magid Hage. This was a big conversation in our Fofoka group, where it's on the Pura Temple of Arts podcast. It's typically, I think, in Portuguese, but this one was in English. Pretty good podcast. It was actually pretty entertaining. Now, Magid Hage, he's Gorilla Hands. He's been famous for doing the baseball bat chokes and wearing t-shirts to ADCC and stuff like that. But he talked about, he thinks it's better for a new person to start in NOGI rather than gi. And his explanation is, one, it feels weird as like someone that has no wrestling experience, a 35-year-old person just coming into the gym and putting this like Japanese Superman outfit on, right? This little bad boy. And then they like wear it all, their belts high up at their boobs, and then their belts tied all weird. They got chest hair hanging out, and they're not used to having their shirt off. I'm obviously clean as a whistle. I don't know if you put some respect on me there, but this chest doesn't get shaved, and I don't have a lick of hair on it. So they feel dorky, and also it's technical, right? Like to try to teach someone a move. This is his perspective. To try to teach someone a Kimura, but then like you throw in all the grips with, or maybe defensive grips of the lapels and the sleeves and stuff like that. It's easy to get lost in the beginning. With his upbringing, you weren't even allowed, because he's pretty old school, you weren't even allowed to do no-gi for like until you're a blue belt. Back in the old GB days, Gracie Baja days. And he's kind of going the opposite. He thinks it's better if they start in no-gi, do like a month, and then they can work themselves into gi. My first reaction to this was like, I don't know if I agree with that. After thinking about it, I can see the perspective, and I guess I would agree to the extent that, but not for everybody. You know, some people are going to like the gi more, and I think he kind of mentions that. Because some people, if they're not athletic, no-gi is going to seem insane. One, it's so damn sweaty. Two, athleticism goes way further, right? Earlier as well. Like early in the journey, if someone's just big and strong in no-gi, they're a lot harder to handle than they are in the gi. I just went with this freaking wrestler from California yesterday. First time I ever gone with him. He's a white belt. And the dude's a freaking piston. Like, holy smokeronies, man. He's just nonstop energy and strong, fast, side to side. You know, but I got one collar grip and it was done. Like he couldn't do anything. Obviously he's a white belt, so he's newer in his journey. But if I didn't have the ability just to grab this and then mess with his posture and keep him away and check his balance and stuff like that, you know, I'm gonna have to get wrist grips, strategic wrist grips too, because he's a wrestler. So if like I just grab his wrist, he's gonna break right out of that. You know, I like to do the Pato style, like double hand wrist grip with the fingers locked, or I'm gonna have to tie up his legs and like get ankle grips and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Make a lot of connections right away, otherwise the guy's going right past you. And if you don't know what connections are as a new person in no-gi, you're foobar. You know what I'm saying? So, but ultimately I can see how no-gi can be a little bit easier to understand right out the gate. And I would wonder, it would be an interesting thing to see if people stick around when they start with no-gi. Now, one thing I think could be difficult is the people that, like, you get your 10th Planet people or wrestlers, MMA people, they are so against doing gi. A lot of the time because they got a certain level of proficiency in no-gi, and as soon as you throw that kimono on them, dog, and they start getting all claustrophobic. They don't know what's going on, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's almost like it takes them down a notch, and they feel like, oh, they're not as good or something. They're not going to be able to do the normal things that they can do, right? They can't just blast a knee cut because you got a pants grip, and they can't rip the pants grip off like they can an ankle grip. So there becomes a hesitancy because it's almost like they gotta reset a little bit. And obviously if they're athletic, you tie someone up with grips and then their athleticism gets taken down big time. So I would worry that would happen, that you would get more people that become delayed on actually going into the gi classes, and then they only do no gi classes. But at the same time, if you're a grappler, you're a grappler. I think it's pretty silly when, like I throw a little bit of jokingly shade at the no-gi guys, because they like their fancy spats, but I think it's silly when people won't train one, or like you want to train both. They're both jiu-jitsu. Look at the highest levels of no-gi grappling. Besides a couple outliers, it's tons of gi grapplers in there. You know, you can do good in both, you know, but you got to do both. So I recommend checking out that podcast. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think it's better for someone to start NOGI and then progress through and then pick up the gi later? And not, I don't mean do you think it's better as in like there will be a better grappler, but do you think the people will stick it out longer? And what did you do? Did you start in gi or did you start in NOGI? That's I always find that kind of interesting when people started in like an MMA grappling program, maybe not a fighter or anything, but you went to an MMA gym, they had NOGI grappling, you were doing it for working out, and then now you're at a pure jiu-jitsu school, or the opposite, right? That would be interesting to know that. With that, we're now going to jump into the match review thing, commentary. So hopefully I only take about 10 minutes of that. It would probably be more like 20. But we're going to jump into that right now. Okay, so here we go. Now, here's my face. And I'm going to put it over here. This is my match against Gil. Real tough black belt out of the base in Vancouver. This is the Rev 50 in Puyallup. And let's just see what happens. I'll just talk over what was successful, what wasn't, and what I was thinking. So as we start off here, you're going to see I clear my sleeves. I try to get first grip right on the collar, and boom, I get first grip, but look at what he does. Really good here. Notice how he is bending my posture down. I do not want this. I hate this. This is absolutely a bad position for me. I want to actually be more straight up. I have more of a judo game that does a lot of foot sweeps and stuff like that. So I do not want to be in this position. I'm trying to neutralize his grip with this grip here. If you can see, I just circled it there. Now that is trying to nullify his collar grip, okay? So as we keep on playing, you can see I'm pretty diligent on that elbow grip because I do not want him to be able to be very effective with his collar grip. On the other side, I have a very stiff wrist collar grip, and as you'll see, I'm starting to straighten up my posture. I do not want him to bend me at the hips, so I'm diligently trying to stand him straight up. I want access to his hips and his feet for judo. So as he does a good job about breaking me down, you can see right here, I have a very stiff wrist, right? Right there. I have a very stiff wrist. That's my defense against his wrestling style. So him bending me over like that is, pause, hello. That's what I feel like is he's going to try to do like a swing single, an ankle pick, maybe a tomonage of some sort, or even a guard pull. I'm not afraid of the guard pull. I just do not want him to get access to my legs, so I have a very stiff grip right there. And as you'll see, he goes for a little wrist lock right here. Disrespectful. You see me shake it off a little bit. You see that? Let's just watch that again. Watch me just shake it. I feel it. Oh, rude. No. He opens up my gi, and then look at this. Look at this grip. He gets this weird kind of like belt grip here. Now, in this moment also, you can't hear it, but Professor Andrea yells at me because I'm letting him dictate the tempo. He's moving me around. Look at his head position. Great head position by Gil. Okay, so Professor Andrea kind of yells at me here and says, Bill, you have to take control. You have to work your grips. And as you'll see, he breaks me down again. Right there, good head position. She yells at me, and that's when I start to move my head position right there. And then now I'm going to start moving him around a little bit. Boom, get that step. I move him around again. Okay, now this belt grip that he's doing here is super confusing. It threw my whole game off. What I'm trying to set up is what's called a Acai. So if you imagine I rotate to my right, as he takes a step with his left foot, I block it and throw him to the ground. I didn't feel comfortable, so I just pull into a K guard. But as you can see, what I was trying to do with this is, with this guard pull, I am trying to, because he has this, let's see if we can kind of show it. He has this belt grip right there, right? He's grabbing my belt. I'm hoping that he, as I pull guard, he extracts that arm and I can then go for a triangle. And you'll see how my hips come real high immediately on this guard pull. Right there. I tried it. If he pulled his arm back, I would have been in a good spot for a triangle. Didn't happen. So I pull straight into K-guard. I have a deep scoop grip with my left arm, and then my right arm, I'm trying to get a sleeve grip because I want to go for an omoplata sweep. He's being tight, but then that just makes it so he's all... When someone's a ball like that, they're actually easy to move, right? Because all their weight is condensed like this. So because he was a ball, it was a very easy knockover. In this moment, I get into this position a lot because you're one step away. I just have to step over that leg and I'm going to be passing his guard. So I know if I can get almost to a loose 50-50, if I step right over that leg, right there, bam. Now you'll notice what I'm going to do with my left hand is I'm going to try to hook his leg. And then with my right hand, I'm going to try to grab his far side lapel because I don't want him to turtle away. I want him to turn, but I don't want him to turtle completely. I want him to turn to expose his back. I don't want to flatten him out. I want his back. That was my goal. So as you can see, I hook the leg, grab the lapel, slow his turn down as he continues to try to turtle. Then I go chest to back connection. Most importantly, I just want to chest to back. Don't want to go in too soon. I start falling off. So my whole goal is go chest to back. That's what that little adjustment was right there. Where I'm off to the side, the main thing wasn't the hooks. It was just rotate around and get square up on his back. Now, this is where he starts going for like a cheeky little arm lock that I didn't feel too much of a threat, but I knew if I didn't mind my P's and Q's, he would go for something. So I started trying to throw in a body triangle here. I was a little bit on his hip bone, so I couldn't put too much pressure on it. So you can see here he's really committing to like this kind of like straight arm lock, which is just kind of holding us off a little bit. I think in this moment, yeah, I didn't quite feel good about my positioning, and I went for kind of like a Bravo grip. I wanted to pull his lapel. Right there, you can see I'm pulling the lapel, and I was thinking about setting up. Now I'm in a butterfly half. And I was thinking about setting up kind of like a cross collar Bravo grip, or I was going to go for an ankle lock. I've been working on an ankle lock and really trying to perfect that for about a month or two. And so I was thinking about elevating him and trying to go for that. Now I'm just kind of wrapping a lapel around his arm just to make him think about it. I really had no reason to, no move I was going for. I'm getting a pants grip here with a cross collar grip. Now, this cross collar grip, I like to knock people off to the side. I just talked about this on the podcast where I'll knock you to your right with a deep cross collar grip. You can see how I'm digging that cross collar grip in. And then as he braces so he doesn't get swept, I then throw in the cross collar grip right here. So I get a little bit of space. I start to punch him over, throw into the cross collar grip. He has to bail to avoid getting finished with a cross collar, and he concedes the sweep. Now, in this moment, he has a cross collar grip himself. You can't see it. Do I got some abs? Come on, give me some abs. Nothing. I just got a fat, stupid gut. Anyways, I was hoping I had a little abage, but didn't happen. So you can't really see it in this position. This does not look very good for me. He has a cross collar grip in close guard. My arms are extended. I am both arms out for the most part. But the only reason I am actually doing this is because my left knee is up. So I'm technically in combat base, okay? So I do not feel the threat that would normally be there for my left arm. If your left arm is extended like this, you are in danger, okay? You have a good possibility of getting arm locked here. Now, the reason I'm not worried about that is because my left knee is up and I'm clamping in on his hip. The reason that basically prevents the arm lock is because for him to do an arm lock on that, he has to get his hips out. By me having my knee up and wedging it, he cannot get his hips out. You might see it in a second. So I break the grip because Andrew yelled at me, I think, right there. But you can kind of see my left knee is actually up. So here he wants to try to scoop it. He's hoping to get maybe a off balance. He starts working into a cross collar. So now you see here, once again, I'm working this cross collar defense where I'm kind of doing a home alone with my left hand. Now, the danger with this is he can do a collar drag and start taking my back, right? Well, I'm not fearful of that because, once again, my knee is up. I would not go to this defense if my knee was down, okay? So imagine I'm in combat right now. My left knee is up and I'm close to his hip. For him to collar drag me, he's going to have to pull and then come around my left side. That's going to be extremely difficult with my knee up. If I didn't have my knee up, I would focus on breaking this grip. So I'm kind of sitting here. I'm also using that armpit grip. Now I go break that grip. And once again, the only reason I'm reaching back like that, I know I'm harping on this. The only reason I'm reaching back right here, still no abs, is because my left knee is up. In this position, look at that. He's even getting a tricep grip. He might try to lock in an arm bar or something like that. I'm not as fearful because I'm blocking his hip rotate. Ooh, there's some abs. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I knew they were in there. Just took a couple scones. And that's right when I stand up. Now, in this moment, he's going for a deep De La Hiva. I love it when people go deep De La Hiva because I grab just around the knee, you can see right here, and then I just sit back for a knee bar. Now, because I'm fat, stupid, and sloppy, I didn't have a good grip, and I just fall right over. And you can see I went with like a sleeve grip of the pants. Okay. Oh, okay. Where are we going? Where are we going? Right there. Look at that grip. That is the worst grip you can do. You need to be cupping the kneecap, and then you have to drop your hips to their hips. You're trying to sit on their hip, okay? As you can see, I more so fall away from him with a pants grip. I need to be cupping, like a reverse cup of the kneecap, and then drop my hip onto his hip as I fall. And you can see all the space right here. And it doesn't happen. I still have a little bit of an opportunity to lock up the knee bar here, but he had a great defense, good leg curl. I decide to bail, concede, and just try to get right back into like a butterfly half. Now, in this moment, I'm able to get into like an X guard and with double ankle grips, which is one of the most powerful sweeping positions there are. And I can do like almost like a quasi waiter sweep. Just loopsies. Come right up, get more points. Trying to stay back a little bit because I do not want to... I didn't want some sort of triangle off that sweep. I didn't want him to throw up a triangle of some sort and get like a transitional submission. So that's why I'm kind of sitting back here. Now at this point, I think I'm up quite a bit. I just got 2 more points there. And I know I had back control. I know I had a guard pass. So I knew I had quite a bit of points. And he might have got 2 points for that knee bar attempt. He might have got a sweep there. So you can see me nodding my head because Andrew's telling me to breathe and play it smart. And then he also told me so part of that playing it smart, you can see here, he has this cross collar grip. He's very good about getting that grip. Oh my gosh, Bill, too far. Notice his cross collar grip immediately. In this position, I'm up by a lot, and there's only about, I don't know, maybe a minute left or something like that. I feel very comfortable off my back that I'm not going to get submitted while I'm on my back. And I feel like I trust my guard retention. So in this moment, he's so good at this dang cross collar grip, and I'm so shitty at breaking it. Andrew says, play it smart. I break it. He gets it right back. And I say, you know what? I'm just going to sit back. He might cross collar me with a setup of some sort when I'm on top, but I don't feel danger when I'm on bottom. So I just decide to pull back, get into my X guard, grab the ankle. Remember, I said I was really trying to work on an ankle lock for about the last month. So I get into X guard. I prefer the butterfly ashi. So you'll see me with my right leg here. I go for an inside butterfly grip. So my right foot, you can see my toes there, I think, right there. And then, I don't know if those are my toes or not, but that's on the near side hip. And then my left foot will go to his ribs. So right there, you can see the position. He then, because my left foot goes on to the ribs, the most common reaction is they go for an Estima lock. Now, as you can see, my butt is in the air like I'm at the club, and that is something that is a good defense to the Estima lock. If someone goes for an Estima, invert immediately. That will relieve the pressure of the Estima lock. So that's effectively what I'm doing. I'm just inverting while I'm also at the same time shoring up my ankle lock grip. So at first my ankle lock grip, if we can notice, is a little deep, right? Like he has a good boot on. I'm not down at the Achilles. So in this moment that my hips go in the air when he attacks the Estima, I'm shrinking back. So boom, right there. Notice how my hips are in the air, but as my hips come down, I shrink into them right there. See that movement? That's me going from my grip is on his lower calf to his Achilles. That's what's going on there. And you can see the look on his face. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. And that's when the pressure really comes on. Hips up, adjust, put the pressure on, and then boom, I got the tap. And you can and notice the grip. Remember, here, look, his ankle is in my elbow pit. As we sure this up, hips in the air, shrink towards him. Right there. See how now the flexion in his foot, it's hard to tell. But you can imagine he doesn't have a boot on anymore, right? He's got ballet toes. And I'm able to really put a lot of pressure into that. I worked quite a bit on this ankle lock grip. Mikey Musumeci tutorials is pretty much what I watch. Yeah. Any abs? No abs? Yeah, Gil's tough as nails. Oof, just a little show for you. Can I make come on one more time, huh? Oh, something, right? That's the money shot. Okay, well, anyways, that's that, guys. Hope that was a good time. Like, subscribe. If you like this sort of thing, let me know. I can do other matches. I can do pro matches. I can do your matches. Maybe, I don't know. But if this is something that you kind of dig, holla at you, boy. grapplingwithpodcast@gmail.com. See you later.